All right, welcome, greetings. Yeah, this is Connor from GOG. A little bit of a different video today, and the reason why is because I've just seen so much talk on YouTube and everything about the Boots Ennis Chukhadzhian fight, and people saying Boots has been exposed and this and that, and that he's doomed going forward. I don't really agree. I actually don't agree at all. But I will say there are different things that sort of set off some alarm bells, but I think a lot of that is him coming in trying to put on his show. But I'm going to do a quick analysis. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the link to the highlights of DAZN, and I'm going to talk you through some of this stuff. I can't put up the video because I understand that now if you try to put up pieces of DAZN videos, they'll just shut down try to get your channel shut down, which is kind of uncool, but okay, fair enough. Their vids, whatever. But you'll see the link, and if you just open the vid, you'll see, I'll tell you what time I'm on and everything. You'll see what I'm talking about. Now, real quick, when we talk about Boots Ennis, when we talk about this Chukhadzhian. Chukhadzhian is a really good fighter. He's fundamentally extremely sound. He's not afraid to go in and fight. This was a lot better fight than the last time. Maybe he was intimidated last time, but this time the guy comes in and he's ready to fight. And he's got really good fundamentals and he moves a lot. Now, we knew he moved a lot from the last fight when people say, oh, he's just a runner. He's not just a runner. And I wouldn't say he's not a big hitter, but he's like a lot of these Ukrainians where he's got great fundamentals. He's got really good feet, and he'll hit you. And he's pretty tough. That's very similar to a lot of these guys, right? So saying that Boots was in there with a scrub that he should have waxed, that's not really true. And I think that Karen actually beats a lot of guys. He probably surprised you. He'll probably will continue to surprise as he keeps fighting. But anyway, let's talk about Boots. Now I'm gonna if we go to the first round, I want to do one thing. We get right into the first round. You'll see Boots starting out with a pretty sharp jab, going high and low, just right in the first round. So you're already in right about 50 seconds in or a minute in on the thing. However, one thing that I noticed right off the bat on this, and I've seen this before with Boots, is that here's a guy, he's got all the talent in the world. He's super, super quick. Super, super quick. And he but instead of throwing the jab like a typical straight jab, twisting that jab, you can't kind of see on the thing, and getting that head behind his shoulder, he's throwing the jab like this, which is kind of like if he was out of a Philly shell. Even when he's not in a Philly shell, he'll start throwing it from here like this. Well, first of all, that might be pretty quick, and if it's coming low, you don't see it, it'll catch guys. But it's not necessarily it's not going to snap your head back. It's not going to hit you as hard as if you shoot just a traditional jab. But the other thing is, and you can practice it yourself, you throw that jab from down under, the tendency is that you don't get your shoulder up and get your head behind it. Or if you throw an old school jab, yeah, you're protecting your head. What happens? Well, what happens is kind of predictable because, to tell you the truth, Chukhadzhian, he's very well schooled and he's quick and he's got a good, nice, fast left hook. And as that round goes on, right, we see something right off the start. We saw this situation where he hooked Boots and he hooked him really sharp and he literally kind of knocks Boots out of the camera. And it's not just because, I don't think it's just because Boots was super off balance or anything. It was just a super clean left hook. And Boots caught it clean. And the thing was, he caught lots of hooks clean, actually lots of other shots clean in this fight. Now I'm sitting there watching just in that first round. We get down to 50 seconds, and it was right at 50 seconds in that first round. On the vid, it's at minute 38, and you'll see him get caught. Now, what happens? Boots comes back. He throws a couple of out of semi-high guard, a couple of sharp jabs. And he immediately looks better, but he also switches stances. Now, here's something where you'd have to go, well, I'm not sure why this happened. Why did he switch stance to a southpaw? We're going to talk about that at the end of this. But you switch stances to a southpaw for a reason. I'm not sure exactly why he did it. Maybe he figured that the different look would give Chukhadzhian a hard time, but Chukhadzhian's landing. Well, the thing is, if you got a guy who's very well schooled and he's fighting you, and you switch to a southpaw, you're actually putting yourself in danger. You're putting yourself right there where that hook can land on you. Now, if you are trying to switch stances and you always fought like orthodox and you switch to a southpaw because somebody told you, now I'm going to land the left hook, you probably, especially when you first start, you just keep getting smashed and smashed by that orthodox fighter because you're not good at southpaw yet, and it's not so easy. But if a guy is a pro, he's got a lot of experience, and suddenly a guy switches on him, and maybe the guy that switched on him kind of doesn't know why he's doing it, or maybe he's just experienced. Yeah, man, you can land your lead hook on him because he just brought his stance to you, even though if you're kind of new and you fight a southpaw the first time, he seems like he's 9 miles away. A guy who's more experienced will know that he can land that lead hook on him. And you got to give Chukhadzhian credit. He doesn't back down when Boots switches on him and he starts landing shots. But Boots lands a lot on him. But Boots also starts doing things that are not ideal. Once he gets into that southpaw stance, you can see it as we go into like into the 3 minute mark or 3.5 minutes mark of the video. Yeah, actually go to about 3:44, and you will see Boots in the southpaw stance, and he even gets backed into a corner, but in that southpaw stance, he starts getting really squared up, right? So if you're gonna fight a southpaw, you don't want to get squared up in it. He starts throwing punches and he gets super squared up. I'll show you. Okay, yeah. If you go actually to 2:34 in the DAZN video, actually 4 minutes and 12 seconds, you'll see Boots start doing this, where he's in a southpaw stance and he starts marching forward at 4:19, 4:20, mega squared up. Now, if you've got a guy that's landing lead hooks on you and you switch to a southpaw stance and you get mega squared up, he's going to hit you, and he's going to hit you with both hands, which Karen is doing. On top of it is Boots is throwing out of this when he's in the southpaw stance, because he switches back and forth a couple of times. When he's in the southpaw stance, he also throws that jab from here. It's like he becomes a mirror image. He's very consistent. You throw that like that, again, your shoulder's not coming up. You throw more of a traditional jab, your shoulder's going to come up, protect yourself a little bit. Now, here actually at about 5 minutes into the video, he switches back to orthodox, then he switches back to a southpaw. Well, now he's kind of in the middle, but he's very, very squared up again. Now he's back in the southpaw stance. He throws a jab, he throws his backhand left, and he's super squared up. And he's not protecting himself. When he throws that jab, he's not really protecting himself. Now he's landing shots. He's landing tons of shots, but he's still kind of marching in and just kind of banking on his speed and quickness and size and toughness to wear Chukhadzhian down. Now he does, and in fact, he forces at 5:40 in this video, you'll see he forces Chukhadzhian to take a knee, which is not that surprising because honestly, Chukhadzhian is outgunned when it comes to Boots' quickness, overall talent, size, strength, etc. He still comes back to fight, and Boots is still catching clean shots as this goes on. And some of these actually can start out with just lead left hooks, or Chukhadzhian will throw like a right and then a lead left hook, and he's catching Boots clean all the time. I'm not that surprised because of the way that Boots is going in. Now, a lot of this I think I'm going to put down to Boots wanting to put on a show and being a little bit too flamboyant and trying to do too much. I don't think necessarily he's been exposed. I think that what he did is a way to get hit clean a lot. And you're in the middle of a fight, and it's hard to make that adjustment if you've had a training camp. And I've seen guys like do training camps, and maybe underestimating an opponent, and then they go in there, and then you can't make adjustments because maybe your training camp didn't prepare you for that, because you're too much better than the guys that are coming in for sparring. That's probably the case with Boots. He's too much better. He's so much better than his sparring partners that he's not forced to adjust during training camp, which means it's going to be really hard to adjust during the middle of a fight. Just my opinion. Now, what do I think this means going forward? Is Boots doomed if he goes up to 154, or if, let's say, if he faces Vergil Ortiz? There's a lot of talk about that now. Or if he faces Crawford, well, I don't think anybody's going to be in good shape facing Crawford. But if Boots goes up to face Ortiz, Ortiz is very fundamentally sound. He's got a great trainer in Robert Garcia. He's going to see all the things that I mentioned there, right? Which means that Ortiz is going to come in with a great game plan, and he's so fundamentally sound, and he hits really hard that, yeah, Boots could really have trouble. What I really think, though, is probably Boots, when he's going in to face a guy like Ortiz, he's going to actually fight much more based on fundamentals and not as much switch hitting and all that. So I wouldn't say that he's doomed or guaranteed to lose. I will say you don't want to take clean shots from Ortiz like he was taking clean shots from Chukhadzhian, because, man, Ortiz is going to hurt you. So that fight's really, really interesting going forward. I would say actually, though, the jury should still be out. Some people will say, well, Boots has no power. And so there's no way Ortiz is going to be beat by him. Okay. I can tell you, in my opinion, he's shorting out his power. Doesn't mean he doesn't have power. But when you get squared up, right? Well, first of all, if you're throwing jabs like that, you're not going to have much power on them. They're coming up just like in the picture, and so you're going to catch guys. They're not going to see it, and it can set you up to land a backhand, but you're not going to have a big stick on your jab if you throw it like that. That's just a decision, because you might like to fight this and you keep catching this guy, lift his head up, then you can follow through with your right hand. However, a lot of guys, I mentioned this in past videos, guys who fight sort of a Philly shell, or they like that stance or whatever, they will fail to turn their knee in and kick that back heel out, so they're getting their hips really into the punch. If you see Floyd, and people say Floyd wasn't a big puncher, man, Floyd could hit people and knock people out when he had to. He just was protecting his hands. You look at the younger Floyd, though, he could hit. But if you look at his videos, you'll see that he emphasizes in his training videos, like every once in a while Floyd will do a video, you'll see him teaching his nephew or somebody. When he throws that backhand, he turns that knee in and he makes sure that the back heel's kicked out, and he even shows like his nephew this, because that's where you got to concentrate that. If you're going to fight kind of a Philly shell and you're not doing that, you're going to lift up and not turn that back heel out, and you're taking away from your power, which is what you see Boots doing in this fight too. So this combo of like hit jabs like that, the backhand not turning his knee in and turning his heel out is taken away from his power. But so is when you get squared up, you're suddenly doing like that. You're not getting your hip. You can't get your hips in like that. You're not getting that much on your punches. Now, if we see him fight somebody like Vergil, I think we're going to see a guy who's going to go right back to the fundamentals, and if he does that, I mean, he's just such a great athlete. He's going to have more power. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is, and I think probably as he goes forward, probably going to see a guy that's going to start like focusing on one stance or the other. Maybe he's going to be more southpaw, maybe he's going to be more orthodox, but maybe a little bit less switch hitting. I will say that what I didn't understand why he was switching in this fight. And I've seen that before. I'm not sure why he's switching. Is it just a switch to be flamboyant, or because it's fun? Maybe, I don't know. I just don't see why he's doing it. Now, the thing about, I heard people say that he was the best switch hitter, better than even Marvin Hagler. No. Not just that Marvin Hagler's a legend and had this incredible career, but even if you looked at Marvin Hagler early on, like go back to Marvin Hagler Duran, or go back to Marvin Hagler, any of his fights, there's a real method to his madness when he switched. For example, when he threw and he's an orthodox stance, and he threw his backhand, he would elongate that and take a step forward and land it and suddenly be in the opposite stance. So not only he might land with really heavy hands, but then he's right on top of a guy, and he was a really good inside fighter, and he was tough, right? So when he switched, it was part of his style, not necessarily that he's sitting there going, now I'm going to switch. Although later, a lot of times, he would just fight in the southpaw because he seemed like he felt better in that stance. Although I loved watching him as an orthodox fighter, because then he'd be more of like kind of a boxer, right? And being more of a jab first fighter. But there was definitely it was part of his entire makeup. He would make that switch off that backhand punch, for example. Right now, I'm not sure why Ennis is doing this. I think, though, as he goes forward, if he fights somebody better, he's going to be more defensively responsible. And some of these things I'm mentioning, he'll just fix these, as you kind of do when you get in. If you're in there sparring with somebody, he's not as good as you, you do stuff that maybe you shouldn't do. You get in there with a guy that you realize, oh man, this guy's a good fighter. you immediately become more conservative and you focus more on the fundamentals. So in the end, adding this up, do I think that Ennis has been exposed? Not really. Do I think that he was sloppy in this fight? In a fight, he probably shouldn't have been sloppy because maybe underestimating carrying. Yeah, that's probably more it. All we can do is take a look at it and try to learn from someone else's mistakes, who's a lot better than we are to begin with. I think you better fix these things, though, because if he gets in a fight with Vergil, you know Robert Garcia, who's Vergil's trainer, now he's going to see everything and more than what I'm mentioning and try to capitalize on it. Vergil will come in very, very game, well-schooled, and that kid hits hard. So anyway, if you like this, let me know. I'm going to get back some training videos. I know this is a little bit kind of low technology just off the iPhone, but I'm really pressed for time because of work and stuff like that. Otherwise, over and out. GOG, speak to you soon. And again, not trying to piss anybody off. If I ever run into Bozy, I hope he didn't beat me up. Not that I know any of these guys, I don't. But just saying what I see, and well, that's all you can do, right? Anyway, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.